Welcome to World Prophecy News. I'm Jay Gallimore.
And I'm Steve Gallimore. Today we're going to talk once again with you about the topic of intelligent design. This is an issue that is being played out across the country. We want to update you. We want to give you the information so that you know what is happening across the United States in the issue of creationism, intelligent design, and evolution. But first of all, let me tell you about a British individual by the name of Anthony Flew. That may be a name that you recognize. He is a well-known, world-known individual that has been a leading champion of atheism for over 50 years, a leading champion of atheism. Now, he has had a change of heart, and we'd like to share that with you because it speaks well to the subject that we're going to discuss today. Anthony Flew has had a change of heart in his view of how the world came into existence. For over 50 years, he has taught people that belief is something they should not be involved with. And now he has decided that there's no way that the world and the things that we observe could have just happened to come into existence. This is an ABC News article, and so we're reporting this on the basis of what we find in this article. According to this article, Anthony Flew has said that there must be an intelligent cause for the creation of the universe. He says that there must be a super intelligence. He said it is the only good explanation. And so this is how then that he has said that the complexity of life can be described as having come into existence, is through some kind of super intelligence. Now don't misunderstand, this longtime atheist is not a believer in God in the Christian sense or in the sense that we find recorded in the Bible. It's simply as he has looked at what is happening around him, as he has observed the scientific data, he has come to the conclusion that something intelligent had to create the world. So now we come to the issue in this country that is being played out in the courts and school districts across the nation about intelligent design.
Well, Steve, this gentleman that you've been describing is, of course, being joined by a lot of other people today, and more scientists are coming out saying they just don't think the Darwin theory can hold water in a scientific examination. One headline I saw says over 400 scientists are convinced that the new scientific evidence that's coming out just will not support the Darwinian evolution concept, and they believe it's deficient. They don't believe that Darwin is a sufficient way to explain the origins of life and everything that we see nowadays. Some of these are even coming from Russia. A couple of Russian biologists, and one of them said that that if you don't allow people to explore the fact that there is an explanation for the universe outside of Darwin, that you're going to start stifling academic freedom and scientific discovery. He says you've got to be open, in other words, to other theories for the origins of life. Of course, as Bible-believing Christians, we know that Darwin has never been able to explain the origins of the universe, and most Americans, Steve, agree with that nowadays.
They do agree with that. One of the Russian individuals that you made reference to is actually a member of the Russian Academy of Science. So these are not insignificant people. We're not talking about someone that is in some little insignificant college off in the corner of Russia somewhere.
Right.
But these are some leading Russian individuals. And here, of course, is a country that for a number of years was an atheistic country. But some of their leading scientists now are saying, listen, there has to be some kind of intelligent design.
In fact, that very fact is the thing that is making this thing drive, because people are saying this doesn't make sense anymore. So consequently, Steve, the battle is taking place in the schools, and we want to talk a little bit about what that means and the political landscape today.
Well, there are a lot of things that are happening in American schools as it revolves around this issue of intelligent design. Because now that you have some significant scientists that have teamed together to take this issue to the school boards and to the courts and say, listen, we should be able to teach intelligent design. Now, the Supreme Court, back a number of years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court said that you cannot teach creationism. And that, I think, was probably an appropriate decision. because we certainly do not want to see the public school system turned into a forum for religious education.
Yeah, I think that we want to hasten to add to that, Steve, that when we say creationism, they were talking about teaching biblical creationism and teaching that the Bible creator is the origin. I think that was the background of that.
That's the background. But now, let's say what happens now when in scientific discovery, scientists come to the realization that scientifically, as we look at the issues, we are forced to say that maybe there is another explanation. There's not just one explanation, but there may be another explanation. You know, Jay, one premier quality of education is that a person that is being educated gets to examine different points of view.
Right.
That's part of the process of education. And so when you narrow it down and say there's only one way to look at this, and that's my way, then you really have crossed the line from being science into being religion or philosophy. And this is where the current teaching of evolution is, in my view, in this country. It really has crossed the line and is a religion. Now, people don't like to have someone bothering or messing with their religion, if we can say it that way. And of course, scientists that teach evolution are very concerned about this. One place this is being played out is in Pennsylvania, where some individuals have gotten together because the school system is allowing intelligent design to be taught, that they have gotten together and they have sued the school system saying, no, we're not going to allow you to do this. We want you to stop this because what you are doing is promoting religion.
So, Steve, that comes right down to the very important issue that in Pennsylvania is certainly a touchstone, and this is working its way through the courts. Right now, we have, I think it's 11 parents that have come together and sued the school system, saying you cannot make a statement that there's another theory besides evolution. You cannot say that intelligent design is another possible theory for origins. And of course, this is in federal courts, not state courts. And so therefore, this thing could go all the way to the Supreme Court. I wouldn't be surprised, Steve, to see this actually appealed. Whoever loses probably will appeal this, and we may see this actually get into the Supreme Court as to whether the United States government will allow the concept of intelligent design to be taught from a federal standpoint in public schools.
Well, this is being played out across the country. This is an issue in many, many states and many school districts all across the country. And it is a growing issue. And evolutionary scientists, if we can use those terms together, and I'm not real sure that we always can, but they are very, very concerned. They are very concerned about where this is leading. For instance, if you go to New Mexico, this is another place where the school district it's the Rio Rancho, New Mexico School District, has said that intelligent design can be taught. There was an interview reported by ABC News with one of the teachers there, a man by the name of Dan Barber. And Dan Barber has some concern that this will turn into religious education. And I think, Jay, that you and I would agree that there is a legitimate concern, that Dan Barber, as he's being represented here, has a legitimate concern. He said, to quote him in this article, he says, "Can a teacher remain unbiased? Can we keep it from becoming a preaching session?" Now, on the one hand, you have the evolutionists that want their religion taught in the public school, because they don't want anything about God there. It's a humanistic approach. We want to make sure that our religion gets taught. On the other hand, you have those that are of conservative Christian outlook, and as you know, in this country, many of them also want their religion taught in the public school system. However, is it unfair for scientists to say, listen, there is reason behind our asking that intelligent design is taught as another theory of the origins of life?
Steve, I think that's good to point out that on both sides of this fence, those are the arguments. The evolutionists will say you don't want religion in schools, and this is about science, and the intelligent design is about religion. The intelligent design people come back and say, we're not identifying who the designer is. We're only telling you that the science is telling us that evolution is no good explanation for this thing. And we're not interested. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just started saying, well, let me just throw in what some on the side of evolution are saying, because they're trying to characterize the other side as being non-scientific.
Right.
This is a quote from Cindy Worski, who is the spokeswoman, according to this article, for the National Science Teachers Association in Arlington, Virginia. And to quote what she says, at least as it's referred to in this article, if the door is open for non-scientific viewpoints to be addressed, I would imagine that some teachers will rethink their profession.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if a person is a evolution religionist, and this is their religion, and they feel now they have an issue of conscience because they can't teach their religion any longer.
Well, that's true. In fact, I found one of the arguments, Steve, that simply said that they weren't so concerned about what the teacher might say, they were concerned about what the students might say. And I thought it was kind of ironic. When have we ever in education been concerned about what students think or how they react to the teaching that is going on? Going back to the thing in Pennsylvania, there have been another 85 scientists. Some of these are evolutionistic scientists who do not buy into intelligent design, but they have signed a friend of the court saying that they want the opportunity to explore both ways. Some evolutionistic scientists are saying it's not right to squish or to put down what appears to them to be at least some legitimate scientific concerns. There have been a lot of concerns about Darwin. Obviously, there's the whole gap theories, where's the missing link, and then you have the fossil records that just don't follow suit with a lot of the evolutionistic concepts. So this battle is raging, and as we pointed out in another program, Steve, it's all about the end time and God preparing people to understand that He is the creator of heaven and earth. But it's taking place, the battle's taking place right in the school system.
Well, one of the signers to the court brief that you mentioned there in Pennsylvania is Dr. Philip Skill, and he is with the National Academy of Sciences. So once again, you know, I'd make the point that this is not something that is happening just on the part of some not so well educated scientists, off in some, you know, remote, unimportant locations. But there are some important scientists that have said, listen, education demands that we open the door to allow different points of view to be examined.
Now, if we go to Kansas, Steve, we'll see something else happening. And what is happening in Kansas is two dynamics at the same time. You have the state of Kansas, the state education system, re-examining whether it can allow the intelligent design theory to be taught. Just a few days ago, we had the Topeka, I think it's the Topeka, Kansas educational system, where they voted that they will teach intelligent design and allow that to be taught as an alternative alongside of evolutionists. Now, it should be said that many of the intelligent design people believe that students should have exposure to all of these different theories. They should have the theory of evolution exposed to that as well as the theory of intelligent design. What the intelligent design people are really concerned about is the lock that the evolutionistic side has, and they won't let any other light in. And that really sounds kind of like the Dark Ages, if you ask me, Steve. It's a Dark Age mentality.
So. It is very much a Dark Age type mentality, and it certainly is anti-education, it's anti-scientific, but it's done under the name of science, which is amazing. In Kansas, also, you have the state school board system now that has a preliminary draft of intelligent design instruction about how that can be taught in the Kansas schools. It looks like this is going to fly, and they are right in the middle of it. It is a controversial issue. People all across the country are watching this to see what actually happens in Kansas. Kansas, over the years, has been kind of a lightning rod on this whole issue, and it certainly is once again now, as the state school board is designing these new guidelines to allow intelligent design to be taught in the Kansas schools.
That's right. In fact, some people are saying, Steve, that what's happening in Topeka is that they're actually redefining what science is. And we want to hasten to say the whole creation of the universe is a marvelous mystery. There's many things that no one will be ever able to ask. You cannot put God, as the Scripture says. You cannot, by searching, find out God. But when we search for Him with all of our heart, then we do find Him. But you can't put God in the test tube. You can't subject Him because He's above science. He is all-inclusive. And all through the ceaseless ages of eternity, we will find more and more marvels. Now, that's from our viewpoint as far as Christianity is concerned. But at the end of time, we're going to see this great battle, that the battle lines are forming right now over God as creator. And the science is saying, you know, this Darwinism is kind of foolish. It's just not holding water, Steve.
Well, this whole issue, Jay, as you mentioned, and as we have mentioned in a previous program, does have a lot to do with end-time prophecy, belief on the part of God's people at the end of time, whether or not they accept Him as a Creator and Redeemer, or whether or not they don't. So it is an important issue, end time issue, and we would urge each one of you to look carefully at what the Bible has to say, and to make certain that your viewpoint and your understanding is in harmony with what the Scripture has to say.
Well, I'm Jay Gallimore for Prophecy News, World Prophecy News. Thanks for being with us.
And I'm Steve Gallimore. God bless.